Great Scott. Great Scott. Great Scott.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another fabulous episode of Great Scott. I'm Scotty V. Thanks for watching. So, first of all, I wanted to point out my tie. This is Mullet Superman, but it's not a mullet. Check out the It's Not a Mullet video on Scotty V on YouTube. It was a Great Scott episode we did a number of years ago to shout out to all the people out there who continue and still to this day say that it's a mullet. Hopefully that educational video will go viral and everyone will learn what is and what is not a mullet. Speaking of mullets, the non-mullet occurred in the comics. A few weeks ago I talked about the DC's Rebirth and specifically the Rebirth of Superman, which I'm still less than enthused with. I'm enjoying it, but I feel like it's really, as I said before, a cop-out to what they had said was going to be a change. I guess the same thing could have been said for the Electric Blue Superman years ago, which they said was going to be permanent, but then when the fans didn't like it, they went back. I knew at the time that they were going to. This was a much different kind of a thing because they were changing the entire line. They were changing all of the books. They were changing the universe in general. They were starting from an earlier place in all the superheroes' careers' lives, and they were trying to make it accessible to new fans. I said this at the time, new fans don't want to read comics, aren't looking for comics, and aren't going to buy comics. So what you have to do, and what they've always tried to do to some degree or another with success to some degree or another, is to keep those fans happy. Now the problem is many of those fans are old, like myself, older, and will eventually die, and they need a new, as morose as that sounds, that is the way of life. That happens. But this gamble didn't work, so now they've reset it and they've gone back to Rebirth. One thing I said specifically was in issue number 1 of Superman, they were doing Son of Superman, and they showed a very scary kind of a scene where Batman and Wonder Woman showed up. Wonder Woman was armed. Jonathan had burned the cat alive, and he was very upset, and he saw them come and assumed that they were here for him. And when Superman came up to get him, he asked him if they were here for me, and Superman's response was, quickly, quietly, you're coming with me. Very scary. He was in the dark. He was in the shadows. Apparently, there were reviews afterwards that completely understood that this was an imaginary sequence that Jonathan saw from his point of view. Apparently, Superman did come, Batman and Wonder Woman did come, but it wasn't as scary as it appeared, and they were there to talk to Superman, which he then, in the next episode, tells Jonathan that they were actually here to talk to him, and it had nothing to do with John. The problem is I didn't find that clear in the story, and so my response to that was that Superman not only wasn't acting like a good father, but he wasn't acting like a good Superman, which is what's been everybody's problem with the New 52 Superman, that he really wasn't Superman. So then, when in the very first issue, they had Superman kind of not worrying about helping Jonathan, not worried about teaching him how to use his powers, sending him up to his room, not trying to find out what was wrong when he was clearly depressed and upset. That bothered me. So, was this whole story from his point of view? I don't know, but it's not made up, so Superman still, in my opinion, was not acting like a father. However, to correct that, in my opinion, over the next few episodes, and maybe they were planning on doing that from the beginning because they wanted to show the evolution of Superman as a father. Problem is, John's already 10 years old, which means if he's been failing this way from the beginning, then Superman hasn't been doing a very good job, and suddenly is. Now, in 2, and 3, and 4, and moving forward, they have shown him trying to help John. He's been interrupted by the Eradicator and by other enemies, and so John has kind of been helping him to survive. He's been fighting with him, and so alongside of him, he's got his own costume, though I don't know where he got it from. In some panels, they show Superman with the red boots. On some covers, they show him with the red boots. In the book, he seems to still have the blue. So it's a little uneven, and I don't know if everybody knows what page they're supposed to be on, what costume Superman's supposed to be wearing, or how he and John's relationship is supposed to progress. But just to issue this statement that I was incorrect. Apparently everybody saw what I didn't see, and then that was Jonathan's guilt, although I don't think he as a child should have to feel any. If anything, the guilt should be on Superman for not teaching the child about his heat vision and teaching him how to use it safely, how to aim it, how to use it against enemies that are attacking his cat from above, and then that wouldn't have happened. Maybe he could have just burned the eagle or hawk and it would have just flown off, and that would have been fine. But Superman did not do his job, and that's all I was saying at the beginning. Even if he wasn't acting as mean, even if it wasn't as scary as it looked because it was from Jonathan's point of view. But I still say Superman, up till that point, wasn't really acting much like a teaching father or a father who cared why his son was so upset. He just ignored him and sent him to his room. And now they're kind of already fighting against enemies together, and he still hasn't really taken the time. They're learning on the fly, pardon the expression, to show Jonathan what the deal is with his powers, explain why the lies, explain what happened, explain why they've been hiding, and try to make him a part of the situation, since he is now a part of the situation apparently by necessity. We'll see how it goes from here. I know that it's evolving. I know that he's learning, Superman and John. I just think that after 10 years of being a father and being in hiding, Superman probably should have acted more like a father who loved his son and cared and wanted to show him before we got to that point. Thanks for watching, everyone, and remember, always look up in the sky. Whew, it's hot out here.